Hello and welcome to Coffee and Bonsai with Tom. I have an exciting episode for you today. We're going to do some early summer pruning. Well, late spring, actually. It's not quite, I think it's a day or two before summer. But the first up, we have what I call Lilliput Mountain here. It's got some dragons. I appear to have lost a dragon. There used to be a purple dragon in there. But this one has grown quite a bit, and I will put a link to it, its playlist in the channel. It's really filled out and I'm super happy with it. I don't know if you remember, I put some soil on the bottom here because I want the roots to kind of extend from this very tiny pot into the larger pot below it. And I haven't exactly dug it out, but I feel like that's going on. So I'm just going to do some profile pruning here. It's looking a little rough. I really like how filled out it is. I think it's looking good. And so, I don't want to do any major pruning to it. Yeah, you should really check the playlist. I think about a year ago, um, this was almost completely dead. I'd had it in some gardening soil. These are Lilliput variety of Portulacaria Afra, and that soil, it's mostly peat, and once it dries out, it's almost impossible to get it wet. And so it had dried out, and these poor things it just looked terrible. So I, kind of pruned, saved the roots, which was basically nothing, and kind of stuck it in here. And I'm actually shocked at how well it has recovered. I mean, this is a full, lush-looking mountain forest here. I think it's really come out nicely. So yeah, I'm just giving it a quick tune-up. What I want to do is primarily create some space, between the trees. There are four trees in here, and I'm just kind of quickly, uh, you know, blink thinking, I guess you call it. I'm not thinking too much about it. I really just want to kind of cut back stuff that is growing into its neighbors and create a little bit of space. I'm not going to do hard pruning on this because, I'm kind of enjoying it. I spend a lot of time outside in the summer, and a lot of heat will be coming on, and these kind of, well, they grow initially, and then they kind of slow down in the absolute, you know, mid 80s to 90-degree heat in August. Assuming I don't water them that much, and so I just want to enjoy them. So I'm just creating some space. I probably could take this wire off, but I don't have my wire clips right here, and I'm learning not to use my scissors to prune aluminum wire. Um, but yeah, I think this one has come out really nicely, and I can't wait to check and see how the roots are growing into this, uh, sort of escape pot on the bottom. This is kind of the back side of it. I guess it could be the front. Um, if you want it to be, but I sort of consider this to be the back side of this composition because I think it just looks a lot better from the front side, although, you can certainly see the nice triangle shape, and it helps to prune it from the back to create a little bit of space. So I think I'm coming into the home stretch on this one. Like I said, I don't want to take too much off. We'll do kind of a mini victory lap. But I kind of do want this bushy appearance, where I sort of see like, I don't know, sort of like what you might see in the jungle, like a sort of a collection of trees kind of growing out of a rock, and it's just a charming species to work with. I probably should propagate or get some more of these because these tiny leaves, I mean, it's just effortless. They just grow so small, and it's quite a hardy variety as well. I'm going to do a few more tweaks here just on the straight up growth and to create a little bit of space. But I think this one is pretty much done. And I will move on to the next victim. So I call this tree Caribbean Blue because of the pot. I just love the pot. And, it's the same thing as the first one. I'm not going to do a lot of major pruning. It just needs a little bit of tune up. I've got some stuff that's going straight up or just has gotten a bit long. And so I'm really just doing my standard, a bit of profile pruning and taking things back to probably the first or second set of leaves and then removing anything that's growing, towards the inside of the tree or straight up or straight down. Um, I'm going on a trip, kind of an extended trip here in the summer. I think I posted a video recently on my automated watering system, so I'm hoping that works out. I will have somebody checking on the trees. And honestly, I have not had tremendous luck with automated watering. So I'm hoping it works out. Like I did a similar trip, and I had a sort of an indoor watering system, and it turned out to be just a disaster. But this one I've had set up for weeks now, and I've been using it to maybe a month, I guess. I've been using it to, water the trees. And then I'm just sort of seeing how it's looking, and then I'm sort of fine tuning the how often it waters. It's a tough problem because I really don't like it because I pretty much water each tree to its needs, and an automated system is just going to water everything exactly the same time. And so I think my strategy will be to give them all like just sort of a minimum amount of water, just to keep them alive and not getting too dried out, and then kind of resuscitate everything when I get back. Because I think that's just going to be a better strategy than, trying to get it exactly right and then overwatering things. And, with Dwarf Jade, and even worse for Crassula ovata, if you get root rot, it's a big problem. These are not as bad. You can just let it dry out, just let it extremely dry out. This is actually looking pretty good. I really want to keep it nice and full looking. Part of the reason is I want to keep a lot of leaves on here for my extended trip because, that's a reservoir water for these trees, and they'll use that to stay alive. So it's much different than like, a deciduous tree or even a conifer where, you know, the leaves are not holding water, they're kind of using water. So, in that case, you might want to prune it before you go on a trip, because if you're concerned about not getting enough water, because it would, you know, the tree will use less water. In this case, I want to keep as many leaves as possible because I want the tree to store water in there and use it if it needs it. It's just a wonderful property of succulents, and it's just quite amazing, actually. So Mabel is flipping out. I think I'm gonna have to turn the sound off on some of this because it's quite annoying. Usually, I mean, she's just a world class guard dog, and if there's any delivery or somebody at the front door, she just really, lets me know. And yeah, I don't know. I oscillate between discouraging it and not worrying about it because I have had cases. I had somebody, I mean, this was like 10 years ago, but they were kind of rummaging around in the car out front, and my dog at the time like never barked. Mabel would definitely let me know if something like that were going on. But the funny thing is, I take her to the dog park all the time, and she hardly makes a peep down there. So people are quite shocked to hear that she barks. But I think we're getting close on this one. The left looks a little thick here, um, but I think I'm not going to worry about it too much more. Like I said, I want to keep more leaves rather than less leaves, and we will prune it again when I get back from my trip um, in early August. The next tree has a little bit of a history. I think I call this my root beer barrel jade, and now it's kind of like the trunk is actually getting some nice thickness and character on it. I moved it to this slightly larger pot. I sort of up potted it. The reason I call it my root beer barrel jade is I had it in a tiny little brown pot, and I'll put a link to the playlist for this tree that reminded me of a root beer barrel candy. Um, so I've just kind of kept the name, although I have it in this lovely kind of green pot with this kind of cool edging. I really like how this one looks. And I'm sort of styling this tray. I want it to be kind of wide and flat. Um, the last time I pruned it, there was a bit of a hole in the top, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But I'm really just trying to get it I want it to grow wider, and kind of fill in that bit of a hole in the top, which it's actually doing that. Um, so I think, giving it some more time, that'll happen. But I'm just kind of reducing everything to get a little more branching and ramification and thickness closer in, and then I can always thin that out if I want to. But I want it to go a bit wider, and here you can see that hole on both sides, and yeah, I think it's actually turning out quite well. I sort of like the you can really see the trunk on it, right? And like I said, it's getting some character. I got this one. I think this is actually a cork bark, but it's kind of hard to remember all the time with some of these. But I got it as a cutting at a club meeting, and I think this is probably one of my earlier dwarf jade, Portulacaria Afras, because I've just had it, grew it as a cutting with hardly any roots, and now it's slowly developing, and yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it, and we'll see. I don't know. I think I'll probably keep it in this pot for some time, um, because I think it has a fair amount of room to grow in there, and I may kind of raise it up a bit over time, but we'll see. That will really depend on the needs of the tree. I mean, it was outgrowing that root beer barrel pot I was talking about before. And I don't think I'm going to do too much more to this. I really wanted to fill out on the top. And, I think it looks much better from this side. So if we can fill it in the back, we'll be cooking with gas. I do a little bit of a close up for our victory lap. And I think a good thought for the day is, summer's here. Take a vacation. It's you've earned it, and I know at least here in the Pacific Northwest, summer comes in fast, and it gets really warm, and we have just fabulous weather. And we get like I don't know 3 4 months of that. It's quite nice, and then you blink, and all of a sudden, the leaves are changing, and it's all over. So enjoy yourself. And with that, thanks for spending time with me, and I'll see you all again soon.